A new English band has delivered an album that really deserves your listening attention as 2024 continues to deliver the goods to us music fans. Hi everyone, I'm Paul Crayson, and you're watching Music Mentions. Today, I'm doing a deep dive review of English Teacher's debut album titled This Could Be Texas. This is another long review because unlike the majority of reviewers on YouTube, I believe in giving my audience more substance and information about a release. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the band, cover some release notes, the track listing, and the song lengths. I'm going to discuss the album title and the cover, and then some general album observations before digging into each and every tune. Then I'll do a final wrap-up at the end with an overall album rating. So who are English Teacher? Well, this is a band from Leeds, England that formed in 2020. They all met at Leeds Conservatoire, essentially a music university, and started a dream pop group called Frank in 2018 before changing their name to English Teacher. They played their first show in 2021, and then they released an EP called Polly Awkward in April of 2022, and subsequently played the Glastonbury Festival that year as one of the finalists of Glastonbury's Emerging Talent Competition. In early 2024, they were described as 2024's hottest guitar band by Guitar.com, although their sound is not necessarily guitar forward or heavy. Their sound has mostly been categorized as post-punk, but I would say that it only gives you a general sense of their sound. It's probably more accurate to describe them as just an alternative rock band. The band members are all in their mid-20s. And speaking of which, let's take a quick look at each of them. First, we have Lily Fontaine. She's the centerpiece of this band as a lead vocalist, lyricist. She also plays synthesizer and some piano on this album. Next, we have Lewis Whiting. He's the band's guitarist, but also plays some percussion and synth on this release. Next up, we have Douglas Frost. He's the band's drummer and percussionist, but also has a hand on some of the keyboards on this recording. And finally, we have Nicholas Eden. He holds down the bottom end as the band's bassist, and he also contributes with some piano. As a matter of fact, all four members are credited with some piano on this album. Now let's cover some release notes. This album was released on April 12th of 2024 and is English Teacher's first full album of original studio material. It was released on Island Records and was produced and mixed by Marta Saloni, who has worked with many renowned artists. These include Björk, Depeche Mode, MIA, and Groove Armada. The mastering was done by Heba Kadri. There were 5 singles released prior to the release of this album. Now let's go over the track listing and some song lengths. There are 13 songs on this record. R&B is the shortest song at 2 minutes and 48 seconds. The title track, This Could Be Texas, is the longest at 4 minutes and 48 seconds. The total album length here is about 50.5 minutes. Alright, now let's dig into the album title and the cover. The album title is This Could Be Texas and comes from one of the song titles. Leeds is certainly not Texas, but it could be that the band is trying to say that there's a commonality amongst us all that is not bounded by city, state, or country lines. The title could also be referring to the vastness and open space of Texas that encompasses a huge variety of parameters, similar to their music. Or it could also be a direct reference to the album cover. The cover consists mainly of a painting that Lily's mother, Gilly Grist, did in the 1980s depicting a historical landmark area northwest of Leeds called Ilkley Moor Cow and Calf Rocks. The central thing that is superimposed on the painting is something that Lily created and said that it represents the band, quote, in that I don't know what it is, some sort of musical meaty machine, unquote. When you listen to this album, I think you'll get an understanding of why she described the band this way. This band's sound is hard to categorize or pigeonhole into a neat delineation. I also think that there's a nice contrast between the bucolic painting and Lilly's musical meaty machine. On one hand, you have a nice and familiar setting, and on the other, you have something foreign and slightly strange. There's a sense of surrealism that's made somewhat real at the same time, since the central object's colors and textures kind of blend it into the painting. Another thing to note about the cover is that the band's name and album title are nowhere to be seen. Typically, this is done by a band that is more interested in the art of the music than they are in promoting it, or by a band that's so famous they don't need to tell you who they are on the cover. It's an interesting album cover, but that's about the most I can say for it. I think it was a squandered opportunity here to have something a little more eye-grabbing and iconic. Now for some general album observations. The recording quality and mix are uniformly well done. It's a well-balanced record with lots of little cool sounds and textures to it. This is also a very dynamic listen with many soft and gentle passages living alongside more aggressive and forceful ones. The vibe ranges from the very comfortable and familiar to the almost jarring and displaced. The best analogy I can make is that it's sometimes not too dissimilar of a feel from listening to something by Radiohead circa mid-1990s. Alright, now let's go ahead and dig into those individual tunes, starting with Albatross. This minor key kickoff tune starts abruptly with what sounds like a couple of seconds of the main song sped up in reverse before falling into a light, floaty, repeating guitar line. Lilly then comes in singing with an intimate and somewhat fragile voice. There's a prominent piano that adds some beauty, and the intensity of the song builds periodically during the verses and then ramps up during the instrumental outro with some sound effects on the edges that sound like chirping birds. The song ends the same way it started, with the sped up reversed bit bookending the proceedings. There are no choruses in this tune, only verses, and here are the lyrics from the last two verses. Found him heading south. I said, have you heard about the sun? Oh, she's the thing that made us. She made everyone. They said, don't think you're special. She's not the only one. Haven't you seen the sky at night? There's millions of them. It appears that this track is about Lilly literally turning into an albatross, which is a huge seabird, by the way, and joining a flock of the creatures heading south. She tries to tell them about the greatness of the sun, but in return, they tell her it's only one sun among millions in the sky. It's quite a surreal little story that tells us we're not in Kansas anymore. This is a beautiful and somewhat ominous little tune that plays like the prelude it's intended to be. It hints at the overall dynamic nature that we'll find on the rest of this album. It's a fine start to the journey. Song number 2 is called The World's Biggest Paving Slab. This was the first single, and it starts with this simple, insistent bass thump that is a consistent, propulsive element of this tune throughout the verses. A simple, hooky guitar line then joins on top. When Lilly joins in, her voice kind of sounds like Sky Edwards, the great singer from Morcheeba. The drums are fantastic as they occasionally stutter to a stop before picking up again. While the verses are rather subdued, the chorus and post-choruses are certainly not. They seemingly explode out of the speakers as Lilly's voice gets drenched in reverb like she's singing while falling into a deep well. It's a stunning effect and an absolute highlight. Here are the lyrics from the second verse. I am the world's biggest paving slab, but I sit here quietly. No one ever looks down at the ground. Yeah, no one ever notices me. I wish I were born a stone. I made white collar my home, haunting with Charlotte Bronte. I'm not the terrorist of Talbot Street, but I think that ruins have beauty. Here Lilly is no longer an albatross. She's now the world's biggest paving slab. More surrealism. There are direct mentions of English locales and actors, a bank, witches, and other items. By the way, the terrorist of Talbot Street is a reference to a far-right individual arrested in 2006 in Lily's hometown of Cologne for having a huge stash of rocket launchers and bomb-making chemicals. Lily said that, quote, "This song tackles delusions of grandeur and inferiority from the perspective of a small town's local celebrities," unquote. This is just a straight-up banger. It's dynamic in the best way and beautifully sung, played, and produced. It may be my favorite song on this release and is one of the best things I've heard so far in 2024. The third song is called Broken Biscuits. This one starts with some circular piano lines as Lily starts talk singing about broken things that reminded me lyrically of Dylan's Everything is Broken. We get the soft, loud dynamic treatment again as the song swerves between a couple different musical sections, sounding a bit unsettling. The song sounds like it's breaking down to mirror the lyrical content, especially the instrumental outro when this layered saxophone joins in and the song grows in chaos and intensity. Let's look at some of the lyrics. My mom's bones are breaking, and there's cutouts in the photographs, so we're splitting our prescriptions like they're broken biscuits. For you Americans out there that may not know, English biscuits are just basically cookies. The lyrics in this tune are fairly inscrutable, but my take is that it's a song about entropy, both natural and economic, and how everything tends to break down at the end. Not sure what I think about this one. It's very arty and deliberately unmoored, but there are some interesting musical melodies going on. It's not a skipper, but it's not the strongest track either. Song number 4 is called I'm Not Crying, You're Crying. This song picks up the pace and energy, starting with a Johnny Marr sounding guitar reminiscent of the Smiths song The Headmaster Ritual. The drumming is a highlight here as well, with some odd time signatures going on, while Lily repeats the refrain I'm not throughout the track. Similar to Paving Slab, the choruses here are tremendous, dialing up the space and reverb again. If the verses are the Smiths, the choruses are the Cure. The tune has an 80s feel to me. The last quarter of the song is especially brilliant and melodic. Here are the chorus lyrics. Then our walls fall down as if we built them ourselves. When our walls fall down as if we built them. The lyrical content is once again kind of tough to decipher. We have imagery here about things falling apart similar to broken biscuits, but this time it's walls. Are these real walls, psychological walls, emotional walls? Who knows? The words, the way they're sung by Lily, are almost used as another rhythm instrument rather than trying to convey any true meaning. This is just another fantastic song that really rocks with interesting melodies and those killer choruses. One of my absolute favorites on this record. Song number 5 is called Mastermind Specialism. This was the third single, and it allows us to catch our breath as things slow down with a familiar mellow feel, almost similar to Albatross. Lily's voice is soft and relaxed on this track and reminded me a little of Billie Eilish's vocal style. There are circular guitar and piano figures that lull us into an almost hypnotic state. The bass even gets a similar circular figures during a breakdown about halfway in. At the end, we get a build-up with what sounds like some strings played on a synth. Here are the lyrics from the first verse. Couldn't make a decision on mastermind specialism. No career, no religion. Another year, no precision. I am the lamb you had for your tea. I am the tiger who came. I am the bag you boiled her in. The water, the teeth, the flame. My interpretation of the lyrical theme here is that it's a struggle Lily has with deciding what to do for a living, what to get really good at or specialize in. It's a feeling I remember from my younger days, and I assume that it's a common affliction among the young. Along with this comes the fear and uncertainty that you maybe have taken the wrong path when you are at the fork in the road. This is a more conventional tune and a really beautiful mood piece. The playing and production are wonderful, and it almost comes off as a lullaby. Fabulous piece of work. Song number 6 is called This Could Be Texas, and this is the title tune of this album. This one continues the mellow mood with some light piano and Lily doing some spoken word through a few of the verses. Halfway through, we get a circular guitar line with the bass and drums joining in, and the song picks up with some energy until there's a sudden stop. A subdued coda verse ends the piece. We get that dynamic thing again that English teacher seems to like to do. This one almost feels a little Baroque or classical, and I sensed some similarity to the last dinner party here. Let's take a look at the lyrics from verse 2. That's the wisdom of the crowds. The more the merrier. Ignore the farmer and his pitchfork. Walk through the heather. Lily has said that this song is kind of about writing an album and following your own path, not caring what other people are doing. The line, walk through the heather, refers to forging your own path, and the line about ignoring the farmer and his pitchfork is a veiled reference to Pitchfork, the music site, and not caring what they will think of the album. This is another intentionally arty piece that sounds familiar and unique at the same time. It's not a standalone track for me, but works great in the context of the entire album. Song number 7 is called Not Everybody Gets to Go to Space. Since this song has a space theme, it's appropriate then that we get some spacey sounding synth chords at the outset of the song. We have Lily doing some spoken word again, and again the song plays with dynamics. The beginning verses are subtle and soft. A long bridge section swells with volume and intensity, then the song ends quietly. Here are the lyrics from the second verse. Not everybody gets to go to space, and that's okay. You're too busy here. How could you fit it in? Plus, if everybody got to go to space, how would space feel like a win? My interpretation is that the lyrics are about being okay with not being one of the lucky or special people that get to do something unique. It's about being comfortable with being the worker bee and not being the queen bee. This is a somewhat trippy track that feels like it takes you on a bit of a journey. It's a bit hypnotic and also jettisons the usual song structures. It's a pleasant enough tune, but once again, not a standout. Song number 8 is R&B. This was the 5th single, and it's an updated and re-recorded version of an earlier version that was released in 2021. The tune starts with a Cure-sounding bass line and more spoken word verses from Lily. It definitely sounds post-punkish and is a builder with an extended outro section that has some of the most energy on the album. Lily extends herself with more passion during the outro than we've heard up to this point, singing in an almost punkish Fontaine's DC style. The bass and drums carry a lot of this tune. Here are some lyrics that are repeated during the outro. The shivering truth of the matter is so easy to see. If I have stuff to write, then why don't I just write it for me? Despite appearances, I haven't got the voice for R&B, even though I've seen more color shows than KEXPs. Lily is a mixed race person, and she's complained in the past how she's felt pushed to sing R&B because of it, even though she doesn't want to. By the way, color shows in the last line refers to a YouTube channel that has live performances, often of R&B artists, and KEXPs refers to the famous KEXP music station in Seattle that champions indie bands as they have done with English Teacher. This is a great high-energy track, a more traditional post-punk type of number. It's a great change from the previous 3 tracks, which are more subdued. This is another favorite of mine. Song number 9 is called Nearly Daffodils, and this was the 2nd single, and one that Time magazine named as one of the 10 best songs of 2023. The tune is really driven by a circular bass line that never lets up. We also get some great guitar lines, piano figures, and during an instrumental section, we get some power chords thrown at us. Some insistent percussion clicks also add to the urgency. Lily again does some spoken word. It's a wonderful mixture that results in probably what is the most melodic and mainstream song on This Could Be Texas. Here are the first verse lyrics. Mostly it feels like a waste. So much laughter uncanned. I'd forgotten the taste. Don't make me go back all the plans we tiptoed around. In quiet hours, daffodil buds. There is a reason the first 9 months doesn't count. Lily has described this tune as being about, quote, heartbreak and acceptance of unfulfilled potential. How no matter how much you may want something, no matter how much effort you may put into something's growth or development, no matter how beautiful you can envision its fruition, life is a bitch and about as unstoppable as a freight train. Unquote. This is a clear highlight on this record. It's melodic, it's sticky and memorable. Simply a fantastic tune. Song number 10 is called The Best Tears of Your Life. We get more contemplative here. Things slow down until the last quarter of the song that ramps up a bit. What is particularly interesting about this song is the use of auto-tune. Now, I'm not a fan of auto-tune. Usually when I hear an auto-tune song, I will just dismiss it as rubbish, which it usually is. It's such a played out and tired effect, not to mention its use as a crutch for poor vocalists. However, here it's used tastefully as a vocal effect during the choruses that adds to rather than ruins this tune. There's a nice mellow melody and the instrumentation for most of the running time is nicely spare, inserting a lot of space around this track. I'm going to skip the lyrics on this one, only to say that the turn of the phrase of the best years of your life to the best tears of your life indicates a type of resignation or cynicism. Lily's not singing about happy tears, and the music adds a sense of melancholy and sadness here. This tune is melodic and certainly memorable because of that auto-tune effect. However, for me, it's just okay. It has enough redeeming qualities, especially the singing during the verses, but it's not one of the stronger songs. Song number 11 is called You Blister My Paint. Another slower track. This one contains what is easily Lily's best vocal performance. It's a moody and melodic piece that almost plays like a torch song. It's a beautiful piano-driven number with some slight vocal echo effects and violin synth sounds. Here are the lyrics from one of the verses. I dreamt about the kiss every night so far this week, and I hope I don't tonight. I hope I break the streak. Your overexposure makes my eyes weak, but I can't look away. You're so hot, then you leave me. This is a straight-up love song. It's seemingly about Lily's obsession with a love interest that may not be reciprocating that love, basically an unrequited love song. This tune is just gorgeous and the most beautiful piece on the record. It also shows English teachers' surprising range and ability to confound your expectations. I also think it may be the best song title I've ran into in a long time. An absolute favorite. And speaking of song titles, next we have song number 12 called Side Boob. This is another beautiful number, but more energetic than Blister. The synth is the main instrument as it etches out the simple progression with simple chords. The drums are played lightly, and Lily's voice is again laid back and delivered softly, but it's a strong vocal performance. Spoken word is again a feature here. There are also some background vocals by one of the guys. I'm not sure which one, but these vocals are used wonderfully, shifting from left to right channel and back. Let's take a look at some of the lyrics. You take every sunset and somehow make it sexier. With your haunted asymmetry, someone's brought a camera crew. They're exploring your history. Now you're on the news. And it's driving me insane because everybody wants to climb you, and they don't even know my name. This can be clearly interpreted as another love song, but about Lily's love for someone that appears to be famous and in the public eye. It's seemingly a song about loving someone that doesn't even know you exist. However, Lily said that this song was about, quote, how pretty the hill is that I can see from my bedroom, but it's mostly a reminder that moments of low self-love pass and you will feel beautiful and worthy again, unquote. This is another strong number with some of Lily's best vocals. It's melodic and floaty and almost orchestral at the end. And now we come to the final song called Albert Road. This was the fourth single, and it starts off on the quieter side of things, while the second half ramps up into an extended crescendo before abruptly ending like falling off a cliff. It's very much a build-up type of a song. The occasional thump of the bass and drums at the start don't hint at the eventual energy at the end. Lily's vocals likewise ramp up towards the end. If Albatross sounds like the prelude to this album, Albert Road definitely sounds like the coda. Here are the lyrics from the pre-chorus. So don't take our prejudice to heart. We hate everyone. The world around us never showed how loving can be fun. Albert Road is the street on which Lily grew up in her hometown, Cologne. This is a song about how a small town can be inhospitable for those that are on the edges or don't quite fit in. Another strong tune on this record, and it's a fine album closer. It has a sense of wistfulness and that I really dig, and the build-up is great, like watching the sunrise. So what do I think about this debut album by English Teacher? Well, first of all, it took me a while to wrap my brain around it. Not only is it long at just over 50 minutes, but it's quite varied. I've used the word dynamic a lot in this review, and you should take that to heart. This is not a one-trick pony album. Although I think it's fairly accessible right away, like many great albums, it only really reveals what it has to offer with repeat listens. It's certainly a grower and has paid off focused and patient listening for me. If you can make the time, try to listen to this album all the way through in the intended sequence. It's a journey worth taking. This is the sound of an adventurous young band still finding its footing and what it wants to be. Lily is a talent, no doubt, but I do detect a little apprehension in her voice. It's solid, don't get me wrong, but it's often reserved, like she doesn't quite trust in it fully yet. I have no doubt she'll eventually find the power and range that she only hints at here. Another thought I had while listening is that these folks know how to play and arrange. You can hear the music school influence on their discipline, creativity, and originality. And finally, I think the higher energy songs are in general the stronger ones. And I'd love to hear them explore more of that side of the band's personality. When they let loose, it really is something special. This album is for you indie rock folks, and those of you interested in hearing an exciting new band that's just getting out of the gate that has oodles of potential. This just may be the sound of the future. I'm going to give this album a rating of a 9 out of 10. Now, your mileage may vary. Let me know what you guys think of this. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Are you indifferent? And tell me why down in the comments below. Once again, thanks everybody. I appreciate you guys watching till the end. Thanks for sticking with me. If you would, please hit that like button, hit that subscribe if you haven't already, hit the notifications, and I'll catch you cats next time.